Rachel Martínez couldn't pinpoint the exact moment her perfect life began to unravel, but she could trace the threads of her story back to where they first intertwined with Miguel's, that fateful property showing in the summer of 2015. Standing in her home office in the Horizon Tower, surrounded by the evidence of her husband's betrayal, she found herself replaying those early memories with newfound clarity. Born to academic parents in Santa Monica in 1990, Rachel had grown up with an almost obsessive attention to detail, a trait inherited from her mathematician father that would later prove both a blessing and a curse. Her childhood home had been a haven of logical thinking and emotional intelligence, with her mother's psychology practice providing a constant backdrop of human behavioral analysis. These influences shaped her into someone who could read both spreadsheets and people with equal precision. Her path to real estate hadn't been direct. After graduating from UCLA with honors in business administration, she had dabbled in investment banking, but found the work unfulfilling. It was during her first serious relationship, a 2-year engagement that ended with her fiancé's infidelity, that she discovered her talent for property. The process of finding her own place after the breakup had been therapeutic, and her analytical mind found satisfaction in the complex dynamics of real estate transactions. By 2015, at age 25, Rachel had established herself as one of Los Angeles' rising stars in luxury real estate. She had also built careful walls around her heart, the betrayal of her past relationship leaving her with a deep-seated fear of abandonment and a carefully maintained set of defenses. Then Miguel Martínez walked into her life, and those defenses crumbled like sand castles in the tide. The property showing was for a $12 million beachfront estate in Malibu. Miguel arrived 15 minutes early, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit that spoke of success without trying too hard. His smile lit up the marble foyer as he introduced himself, and Rachel felt an immediate spark of connection that both thrilled and terrified her. "I apologize for my early arrival," he had said, his slight accent adding charm to his words. "I find that punctuality is a poor substitute for eagerness." The line should have been cheesy, but delivered with his warm brown eyes fixed on hers, it felt like poetry. What followed was the stuff of local legend in their social circle. Their 3-hour property tour turned into dinner, which became a weekend of intense conversation and undeniable chemistry. Miguel pursued Rachel with a single-minded focus that swept away her reservations. Every detail was perfect: flowers delivered to her office, surprise lunch dates, handwritten notes left on her car. He seemed to anticipate her every need, creating a courtship that felt like a fairy tale. Looking back, Rachel could now see how Miguel had perfectly crafted his approach. He had studied her, understanding that her analytical mind needed logical progression while her wounded heart craved romantic gestures. He built their relationship like one of his construction projects, with careful planning and flawless execution. Miguel's own story, as he told it then, seemed equally perfect. Born in Mexico City in 1988, he had come to the United States at age 10 when his father's construction business expanded northward. He had worked his way up from job sites to project management, eventually starting his own company. His success was self-made, his ambitions seemingly matched only by his devotion to Rachel. What Rachel didn't know then, what she would only discover years later through painstaking investigation, was that Miguel's charm had left a trail of broken hearts across Los Angeles' professional landscape. His construction company had provided the perfect cover for a pattern of seduction and manipulation that spanned years. Female clients, architects, and project managers had all fallen victim to his carefully orchestrated romances. Their whirlwind courtship culminated in a proposal after just 6 months. Miguel arranged a private sunset dinner on the rooftop of what would become their home, the exclusive Horizon Tower. He had supposedly just completed the building's construction, though Rachel would later learn this too was part of his elaborate web of deception. The proposal was witnessed by a random photographer who happened to capture the moment perfectly, and their engagement appeared in several local magazines. Rachel threw herself into their relationship with the same intensity she brought to her career. She scaled back her working hours, turned down opportunities for expansion, and focused on creating their perfect home. Her friends warned her she was moving too fast, but she dismissed their concerns. After all, she was the one who understood numbers, patterns, and probability, and everything about Miguel added up perfectly. Their wedding was a lavish affair that seemed to announce their arrival in Los Angeles' social elite. Miguel's construction company was thriving, and Rachel's real estate business had a waiting list of luxury clients. They bought a corner unit in the Horizon Tower, and Rachel believed she had finally found her happy ending. What she couldn't see then was how Miguel maintained his elaborate lifestyle. The multiple burner phones hidden in his office, the secret credit cards carefully concealed through business expenses, the pattern of business meetings that were actually rendezvous with other women. Miguel was a master of compartmentalization, keeping his various lives separated with meticulous attention to detail that rivaled Rachel's own. The first 3 years of their marriage were a masterclass in manipulation. Miguel balanced his time with precision, his construction business providing the perfect excuse for irregular hours and frequent site visits. He was charming at social events, attentive when present, and always had a plausible explanation for any inconsistencies in his schedule. Rachel's career continued to flourish, though she maintained the reduced schedule she had adopted during their courtship. Her natural investigative instincts, which had served her so well in real estate, were quietly being dulled by Miguel's constant affection and seeming transparency. He had learned from his previous affairs how to manage an intelligent, successful woman, keep her just busy enough to be fulfilled, but not so busy that she starts asking too many questions. Little did either of them know that Rachel's carefully suppressed skills, her attention to detail, her analytical mind, her understanding of human behavior, would eventually become the tools that would unravel Miguel's perfectly constructed world. The very traits that had made her vulnerable to his manipulation would ultimately become the weapons that would expose his deception. But that was all still to come. For now, in the early days of their marriage, Rachel believed she had found everything she had ever wanted. She had overcome her past trauma, found success in her career, and married a man who seemed to adore her. The fact that this perfect life was built on a foundation of lies would only become clear when the first cracks began to appear. Cracks that would start with the arrival of a new tenant in the apartment directly above theirs. Sofia Reyes had always believed in fairy tales, even after a decade of teaching third graders had shown her how complicated real life could be. At 32, she possessed the kind of natural beauty that turned heads without trying: long dark hair, expressive brown eyes, and a smile that could light up a classroom. But it was her inherent warmth and genuine belief in happy endings that made her particularly vulnerable to Miguel Martinez's carefully crafted charms. Their first meeting occurred during the renovation of her elementary school's playground, a project Miguel's construction company had taken on as part of their community involvement initiative. Sofia had been heading the school's renovation committee, and from the moment Miguel walked into their first meeting, she felt the pull of his magnetic personality. "I'm separated," he had told her during their third meeting, the words delivered with just the right mix of regret and hope. "It's been a difficult year, trying to do what's best for everyone involved." His eyes had carried a sadness that touched something in Sofia's nurturing heart. When he spoke about wanting to handle things honorably, to not rush into divorce proceedings for the sake of his soon-to-be ex-wife's feelings, Sofia saw not red flags but signs of his integrity. Her diary entries from those early days, later discovered by Rachel, revealed the gradual progression of their relationship. April 15th. Met with them again about the playground. He seems to carry such weight on his shoulders. When he talks about making things right with his wife, I can see the pain in his eyes. It's refreshing to meet a man who takes responsibility so seriously. May 3rd. Coffee after the committee meeting today. M showed me pictures of the apartments he's developing in the Horizon Tower. He speaks so passionately about creating homes, not just buildings. Something about him makes me feel safe. Understood. May 20th. He asked me to dinner. I said no. He's still technically married, even if they're separated. But the way he looks at me, I haven't felt this way in so long. Sofia's initial resistance only made her more appealing to Miguel. He recognized in her the perfect combination of emotional vulnerability and moral strength. Her hesitation about dating a separated man gave him the opportunity to showcase his supposed integrity, sharing carefully crafted stories about his failing marriage and his dreams of starting fresh with the right person. The turning point came during a chance encounter at the school's summer festival. Miguel arrived with a generous donation for the playground fund, and Sofia watched as he spent hours helping set up game booths and entertaining the children. His natural ease with the kids, the way they gravitated toward his playful energy, broke down her final defenses. Their relationship progressed with calculated precision. Miguel suggested an apartment in the Horizon Tower, at a surprisingly reasonable rate, given the building's luxury status. The developer is a close friend, he explained, neglecting to mention that he was the developer. Sofia's detailed diaries chronicled their deepening connection. August 12th. Moved into the tower today. M helped arrange everything. The apartment is beautiful. More than I could have imagined affording on a teacher's salary. He says it's important that his future wife has a home that matches her worth. Future wife. Am I crazy for believing in this? September 8th. M comes over most evenings when he's not at business meetings. He's so good about maintaining boundaries, always leaving by 11 p.m. Says he wants to do everything right this time around. Sometimes I hear him on calls in the stairwell. Divorce proceedings, he says. It must be so stressful for him. Sofia threw herself into building life at the Horizon Tower. She joined the residence committee, organized children's activities in the community room, and quickly became a beloved figure among the building's families. Her natural sociability and genuine interest in others made her popular, though she remained selective about her closest friendships, conscious of her delicate situation with Miguel. Her diary became a repository of dreams and plans. November 15th. M talked about our future today. A spring wedding, once his divorce is final. A house in the hills. More children. He's such a natural father. I should be suspicious of how perfect it all seems. But when I'm with him, everything just feels right. What Sofia didn't know, couldn't know, was that every aspect of her life in the Horizon Tower had been orchestrated by Miguel. The discounted rent, the convenient timing of his visits, even the location of her apartment directly above his other life, all were parts of his elaborate choreography. Her detailed diaries, filled with dreams of their future together, would later provide Rachel with some of the most heartbreaking evidence of Miguel's deception. Pages and pages of hopes, plans, and loving observations of a man who had crafted a perfect illusion. February 20th. Sometimes I hear the couple downstairs arguing. M says it reminds him of his own failing marriage, how grateful he is to have found real love this time. He's so sensitive, so aware of others' pain. I feel blessed to have found someone who understands the importance of doing things the right way. Sofia's involvement in the building's social scene unwittingly contributed to Miguel's cover. Her reputation as a kind, respected member of the community helped deflect any potential suspicions about her relationship with a separated man. Her genuine nature and openness about most aspects of her life made her occasional discretion about her relationship seem natural rather than suspicious. The future she planned with Miguel was detailed in her journals with touching optimism. She wrote about the children they would have together, the home they would build, the life they would share once his divorce was finalized. Each entry revealed not just her hopes but her complete belief in the character Miguel had created, the devoted, honest man struggling to end one chapter of his life honorably before beginning another. What Sofia could never have imagined was that her dream man was living a nightmare of deception just one floor below her feet. Her detailed documentation of their relationship, intended as a personal record of a love story, would eventually become evidence in an investigation that would shatter not just her heart but an entire community's sense of trust and reality. The other woman, in this case, was as much a victim as the wife she didn't know she was betraying. Sofia's diaries, with their hopeful entries and loving observations, would serve as a devastating testament to the power of manipulation and the high cost of believing in fairy tales. Miguel Martínez stood at the elementary school playground, watching Sofia Reyes interact with her students during recess. His presence there was no accident. The renovation project had been carefully chosen after months of observation. He had first noticed Sofia at a local coffee shop, studying her routine, her mannerisms, the way she carried herself with grace but also a hint of loneliness. The playground renovation project was his way in, a strategy he had perfected over years of calculated seductions. "Ms. Reyes," he called out, his voice carrying just the right mix of professional authority and personal warmth. "Do you have a moment to discuss the playground design?" He held up the blueprints like a peace offering, knowing the children's safety would be her priority. Sofia approached, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, a gesture Miguel had noticed she made when slightly nervous. He had dressed deliberately that day, casual enough for a construction site but in clothes that subtly highlighted his physique. The wedding ring was already gone, safely tucked away in his office safe. The seduction began with professional meetings that ran slightly too long, conversations that drifted naturally from playground equipment to personal philosophies. Miguel crafted his separated husband persona with surgical precision, dropping carefully timed hints about his failing marriage and his deep sense of responsibility to handle things honorably. "I believe children deserve to see adults handling difficult situations with grace," he told Sofia during their third meeting, watching her expression soften. It was a line he had used before, but never with someone so perfectly suited to receive it. Sofia's nurturing nature and genuine love for children made her particularly vulnerable to this approach. The groundwork for his double life required meticulous planning. Miguel created a new email account specifically for Sofia, linking it to a burner phone he kept in his office safe. He established a careful schedule of business meetings that would allow him to spend time with her without raising suspicions at home. Even the choice of the Horizon Tower as her future home was calculated. The building's layout and security blind spots had been designed with the possibility of such arrangements in mind. "The apartment above mine is becoming available," he mentioned casually during a coffee meeting. "The owner is a friend. I could speak to him about the rent." The offer seemed spontaneous, generous even. Sofia, on a teacher's salary, would never suspect that Miguel himself owned the unit through a complex web of shell companies. The fake separation story was crafted with equal care. Miguel spoke of it in measured doses, always seeming reluctant to share too much. "These things are complicated," he would say, his voice heavy with manufactured emotion. "There's property to consider, feelings to respect." Each detail was designed to paint him as the honorable man, trying to do right by everyone involved. Setting up the apartment became an exercise in compartmentalization. Miguel supervised the renovation personally, ensuring every detail would appeal to Sofia's tastes while maintaining enough distinction from his own home below. He installed sound-dampening materials between the floors, not enough to eliminate all noise, but sufficient to blur distinct sounds into ambiguous background noise. The secret communication channels were established gradually. First, the professional emails about the playground project. Then, text messages from his burner phone, always deleted immediately after reading. Finally, a secure messaging app that left no trace on their regular phones. Miguel had learned from past affairs that digital footprints were often the first thread that unraveled these carefully constructed deceptions. Early close calls came with the territory, but Miguel had planned for them. When Sofia once surprised him in the building lobby while he was with Rachel, he smoothly introduced himself as the property developer, maintaining just enough distance to seem professional. His wife's presence was explained away to Sofia later as a meeting with the divorce attorneys, a story that only reinforced his committed facade. The first time Sofia invited him into her newly furnished apartment, Miguel noticed with satisfaction how the layout mirrored his own unit below. He had deliberately designed it this way, knowing that familiar spaces were easier to navigate in the dark, less likely to cause accidents or noisy stumbles during his nighttime visits. Their first kiss was staged with theatrical precision. After a late evening meeting about the playground's progress, Miguel walked Sofia to her car. The school parking lot was empty, the setting sun painting the sky in romantic hues. He moved slowly, telegraphing his intentions, giving her time to choose what they both knew was inevitable. "I shouldn't," Sofia whispered, even as she leaned toward him. "You're still separated," Miguel finished softly, his hand cupping her cheek. "But finding my way back to happiness." The kiss was perfect, passionate but restrained, promising more but respecting boundaries. It was a performance he had mastered through repetition, though Sofia would never know that. The physical relationship developed with calculated restraint. Miguel played the role of the reluctant paramour perfectly, always seeming to pull back just enough to make Sofia the one who pushed forward. His supposed respect for his marriage vows, even in separation, made him appear more honorable, more desirable. Near discoveries became part of the thrill. Once, a neighbor from Sofia's floor almost caught them in the stairwell. Miguel smoothly transitioned into a discussion about building maintenance, his hand still warm from where it had been on Sofia's waist seconds before. The neighbor walked away convinced she had interrupted a routine tenant management conversation. The building's security system became both challenge and ally. Miguel knew every blind spot, every camera angle. He timed his movements between floors with precision, using service elevators and back stairwells during peak hours. His construction background provided the perfect excuse for his presence in any part of the building at any time. Sofia's diary entries from this period, discovered later, revealed how completely she had bought into his deception. "He's so careful with my heart, always mindful of the complexity of our situation. Sometimes I see such pain in his eyes when he talks about his marriage ending. It makes me love him more, knowing how deeply he feels responsibility toward others." What she couldn't know was that the pain in Miguel's eyes was carefully practiced in front of mirrors, his stories rehearsed to perfection, every gesture and expression designed to reinforce his carefully constructed narrative. The playground project neared completion, but Miguel had already established plenty of reasons to remain in contact. His role as building owner-manager gave him legitimate cause to be seen visiting Sofia's apartment. His construction company's ongoing projects at her school maintained their professional connection. Every aspect of their relationship was built on a foundation of plausible deniability. As autumn approached, Miguel began leaving small traces of himself in Sofia's apartment. A spare phone charger, a coffee mug, subtle markers of growing intimacy. Each item was carefully chosen to be generic enough not to raise suspicions if discovered, yet personal enough to make Sofia feel their relationship was progressing. The true masterpiece of his deception was how he used one lie to reinforce another. To Rachel, his frequent presence in the building was explained by his hands-on management style. To Sofia, his irregular hours and sudden departures were attributed to his ongoing divorce proceedings. Each woman's understanding of his situation helped cover his tracks with the other. The affair was now fully established, running like a well-oiled machine. Miguel had successfully created another complete life just one floor above his existing one. It was a balancing act that would require constant attention and adjustment, but he had done this before. What he couldn't know was that this time, his carefully constructed house of cards would eventually collapse, bringing down not just his multiple lives but affecting an entire community in ways he could never have anticipated. As winter approached and the holiday season loomed, Miguel faced the first real test of his dual life management. But for now, he stood in Sofia's apartment, watching the sunset through her windows, identical to the ones in his home below, master of all he surveyed. The perfect deception was complete. The real challenge of maintaining it was just beginning. As winter melted into spring, Miguel's confidence in his deception grew dangerously bold. The service elevator became his personal escape route, his timing perfected to the night maintenance schedule. At 11:43 p.m., when Jose started his rounds from the top floor down, Miguel would slip from Sofia's apartment to his own, the whir of the ancient service elevator masking his movements. The building's gym became their midnight paradise. Miguel manipulated the security logs, creating ghost accounts for late-night access, while teaching Sofia to avoid the main cameras. Their encounters became increasingly reckless, against the mirrored walls, in the sauna, their passion leaving steamy handprints on glass that the morning staff would quietly clean away. His business trips were masterpieces of deception. While Rachel believed he was in San Diego, he was actually with Sofia in the penthouse suite he kept for such occasions. When Sofia thought he was at construction sites, he was vacationing with Rachel. The building staff were unwitting accomplices, generously tipped to mention Miguel's inspections at strategic times. The emotional entanglement deepened dangerously. Sofia began leaving her classroom door unlocked during lunch, thrilling to quick, stolen kisses between periods. Rachel received elaborate bouquets at her office, each delivered with handwritten notes that Miguel crafted to assuage his growing guilt. The lies multiplied like cancer cells. To Rachel, late-night building emergencies. To Sofia, complicated divorce proceedings. To the staff, confidential renovations requiring odd hours. Each lie required 3 more to support it, until Miguel's deception became an intricate spiderweb, with him dancing between the strands like a master aerialist, unaware that one loose thread could bring it all crashing down. Miguel Martínez had mastered the art of intimate deception, crafting distinct yet equally intense relationships with both women. With Rachel, he maintained the passionate spark of their early marriage through calculated scarcity. Business trips and late meetings made their reunions more intense. With Sofia, every encounter was framed as forbidden fruit, the thrill of secrecy heightening each moment. In their marriage bed, Miguel and Rachel's intimacy followed familiar patterns established over years. He kept their connection alive through carefully planned date nights and surprise romantic gestures. Rachel particularly loved their Sunday morning ritual, breakfast in bed followed by long, lazy hours together. These moments were designed to maintain her trust, to make her feel uniquely desired. "You're the only one who truly knows me," he would whisper to Rachel in their most intimate moments, the lie tasting like honey on his tongue. He'd learned early that emotional manipulation during vulnerable moments created the strongest bonds. With Sofia, upstairs, the dynamic was entirely different. Their encounters were charged with urgency, the constant threat of discovery adding an electric undercurrent to every touch. Miguel played the role of the tortured soul seeking solace, using Sofia's nurturing nature against her. Their physical relationship was intense but always tinged with artificial restraint, his supposed moral struggle over his separated status adding depth to their connection. "You make me feel alive again," he'd tell Sofia during their clandestine meetings, each word carefully chosen to strengthen her emotional investment. The lies he told in these moments were tailored to her romantic nature, her belief in redemptive love. Miguel maintained distinct intimate personas. For Rachel, he was the successful husband who could still sweep her off her feet, surprising her with passionate encounters in their home office or the shower. For Sofia, he was the sensitive lover struggling with his conscience, making each moment seem both precious and hard-won. The psychological manipulation was precise. With Rachel, he fostered dependence through unpredictability, intense periods of attention followed by work-related absences. These rhythms kept her slightly off balance, grateful for his presence rather than questioning his absences. Sofia received a different form of manipulation. Miguel used the forbidden nature of their relationship to create artificial barriers that he would heroically overcome, strengthening her belief in their destined love. Each time he chose to risk everything to be with her, her emotional attachment deepened. Physical intimacy became a tool of control. Miguel kept detailed mental notes of each woman's preferences, ensuring no crossed signals in his performances. He never wore the same cologne with both women, never used the same pet names or intimate gestures. These details were crucial to maintaining the separate realities he'd created. The impact on both relationships was profound. Rachel's marriage to Miguel seemed to grow stronger through artificial challenges. His frequent absences made their reunions more passionate, their connection more intense. She interpreted his occasional emotional distance as stress from work, never suspecting it might be guilt or divided attention. In her diary, Sofia wrote about the growing depth of their connection, interpreting Miguel's compartmentalization as emotional complexity. His reluctance to stay overnight was seen as noble respect for proper boundaries, rather than the practical necessity it truly was. The building itself became an unwitting accomplice in this intimate charade. The gym, with its late-night access, provided opportunities for chance encounters carefully orchestrated by Miguel. The rooftop garden became a stage for romantic moments with both women, scheduled with military precision to avoid overlap. Miguel manipulated their natural insecurities to maintain control. When Rachel expressed concern about their reduced intimacy, he would orchestrate a passionate weekend together, overwhelming her doubts with physical connection. When Sofia grew frustrated with their limited time together, he would share emotional vulnerabilities, strengthening their bond through artificial openness. The strain of maintaining these distinct intimate relationships began to show in subtle ways. Miguel developed insomnia, his mind racing through the complex choreography of his deceptions. He became increasingly reliant on his calendar, managed through multiple phones, to keep his stories straight. Both women noticed changes in their intimate connections, but interpreted them differently. Rachel attributed any shifts to the natural evolution of a maturing marriage, while Sofia saw them as signs of Miguel's growing emotional availability as his fictional divorce proceedings progressed. The psychological toll of this dual life manifested in Miguel's increasingly risky behavior. He began pushing boundaries, arranging encounters in semi-public spaces within the building, drawing excitement from the growing risk of discovery. This escalation would eventually contribute to his undoing. The complex web of physical and emotional manipulation required constant maintenance. Miguel needed to remember not only the physical preferences of each woman, but also the emotional context of each relationship. One misplaced word or gesture could shatter the entire illusion. His control extended beyond the bedroom. Miguel carefully managed each woman's social circle, subtly discouraging close friendships that might lead to uncomfortable questions. He used physical intimacy as a reward, unconsciously training both women to avoid topics that made him uncomfortable. The building's security cameras captured the surface choreography of his deceptions, Miguel entering and exiting at precise times, using different elevators, maintaining appropriate physical distance in public spaces. But they couldn't record the emotional devastation being quietly warehoused in both apartments. Rachel's natural confidence began to show subtle cracks, though she couldn't identify why. Their intimate life was passionate but increasingly felt like a performance, perfect but somehow hollow. She attributed this unease to her own issues, never suspecting the truth. Sofia's diary entries revealed her growing emotional dependence. Physical intimacy with Miguel became increasingly charged with meaning, each encounter interpreted as another step toward their imagined future together. Her entries described a man slowly opening his heart, when in reality, Miguel was simply becoming more confident in his deception. The maintenance of these parallel intimate relationships required Miguel to be hyper-aware of every detail, the position of furniture, the scent of soap, the timing of laundry cycles. One stray hair, one misplaced item of clothing could bring his entire world crashing down. As months passed, the strain of maintaining these distinct physical and emotional relationships began to wear on Miguel. He developed subtle tells, a slight twitch in his left eye, a habit of checking his phone compulsively. But rather than step back, he pushed further, drawing energy from the growing risk. The impact on both relationships was increasingly evident to outside observers, though neither woman could see it clearly. Friends noticed Rachel's growing anxiety about physical intimacy, while Sofia's colleagues observed her increasing preoccupation with her phone, waiting for Miguel's messages. The building itself seemed to hold its breath, its concrete and steel walls containing countless moments of passion and betrayal. The service elevators, the gym, the rooftop garden, all became silent witnesses to Miguel's elaborate dance of deception. As spring turned to summer, the heat seemed to intensify the emotional pressure Cooker Miguel had created. Both women sensed changes coming, though neither could have predicted the explosive revelations that would soon shatter their carefully maintained illusions. The foundation of lies Miguel had built his intimate empire upon was beginning to crack, though he couldn't see it. Like a master juggler adding more and more flaming torches to his act, he was too caught up in the performance to notice the growing smell of smoke. The thread that began unraveling Miguel's carefully woven deception was a simple text message notification. Rachel wouldn't have noticed it had her own phone not died during an important client call. Borrow Miguel's phone, she thought, reaching for what she assumed was his primary device on his nightstand. Instead, she grabbed an identical model hidden behind his lamp, a rookie mistake by a man growing too confident in his deception. The message preview glowed accusingly, "Missing you already. Last night was incredible. Can't wait until..." Rachel's hands trembled as she unlocked the phone, using the same code Miguel used for everything, their wedding date. Inside was a digital Pandora's box of deception. The intimate exchanges between Miguel and Sofia painted a vivid portrait of their relationship. Messages ranged from the mundane to the explicit. "Can't sleep thinking about you upstairs. The gym at midnight? I'll make sure the cameras are off. Left something special in your mailbox. Wear it tonight." Rachel methodically captured screenshots, sending them to her own email, her real estate agent's instincts kicking in. Document everything. Create a paper trail. Build a case. While searching for a missing tax document in Miguel's home office, Rachel discovered a stack of La Perla receipts tucked into a folder labeled Building Maintenance. Each receipt corresponded to dates of his supposed late-night work sessions. The prices made her stomach turn, These weren't impulse buys but calculated purchases, investments in his deception. Her real estate background provided access to property databases that revealed even more damning evidence. The construction site visits to San Diego were actually regular bookings at the Pendry Hotel, always on the same floor, always paid through a subsidiary of his construction company. Matching charges appeared at hotel restaurants, spas, and room service, all carefully disguised as business expenses. The secret apartment key emerged by accident after weeks of collecting evidence. Rachel noticed something odd about Miguel's key ring. One key, slightly newer than the others, had been painted black to make it less noticeable. 3 days of careful observation confirmed her suspicion. It was a copy of Sofia's apartment key. During a late-night visit to Miguel's office, orchestrated under the pretense of needing documents for a real estate closing, Rachel discovered years of preserved love letters and cards in a locked drawer. The correspondence revealed depths of betrayal she hadn't imagined possible. One letter particularly stood out. "My dearest M, another sleepless night thinking of you. The children asked again when you're coming home. They missed their playground friend. If only they knew you were their real father. Forever yours, S." The intimate photographs, hidden in an encrypted folder on Miguel's business cloud drive, proved the most challenging evidence to face. They documented years of the affair in excruciating detail. Miguel and Sofia in various locations throughout the building. The gym, the rooftop garden, the service elevator. Happy family photos with her children. Holiday celebrations. Intimate moments that made Rachel physically ill to discover. Security camera footage provided the most comprehensive evidence of Miguel's deception. Rachel's position on the building's resident board granted her access to the security system's archives. Night after night, she documented his movements, entering the main lobby at 10:15 p.m., taking the elevator to their 15th floor apartment, then using service stairs to reach the 16th floor by 10:45 p.m. He would return via service elevator at 2:30 a.m., slipping back into their master bedroom by 2:45 a.m., claiming to have been working late. The building's amenity booking system added another layer of proof. Miguel had been reserving the private cinema room, supposedly for business presentations. The timestamps aligned perfectly with Sofia's diary entries about their movie dates. His carefully orchestrated movements through the building kept the two women from ever encountering each other, while maintenance staff were unwittingly enlisted in his deception through strategic tips and friendly conversations. Decoded credit card statements revealed the full scope of his financial deception. Miguel maintained separate lives through distinct accounts. Rachel's life funded through account A featured luxury shopping, fine dining, and couple spa treatments. Sofia's life, supported by account B, centered on family activities, children's expenses, and modest date nights. The business account blurred the lines between legitimate expenses and affair costs, creating a complex web of financial manipulation. Building maintenance requests exposed more calculated deception. Miguel had installed sound-dampening materials between floors during a renovation of Sofia's apartment. Security system modifications created convenient blind spots in camera coverage of certain stairwells and corridors. Even the gym's card reader had been tampered with to prevent accurate logging of late-night access. His email system revealed meticulous compartmentalization. Different accounts served different purposes. Personal at miguel.com for communications with Rachel, miguel.construction@business.com for legitimate business, m.martinez.private@encrypted.com for Sofia, and buillanoidingmanagement@horizon.com for coordinating his movements in the building. Each account maintained its own calendar, contact list, and carefully curated fiction, with elaborate email rules preventing cross-contamination between his various lives. A storage unit registered to his construction company yielded physical evidence of his double life. A separate wardrobe for his time with Sofia, gifts wrapped and ready for various occasions, children's drawings and school projects, a full set of toiletries and personal items, and emergency cash and documents. Building security logs showed Miguel accessing this unit before and after visits to Sofia's apartment, changing clothes and accessories to maintain his separate personas. The final piece of evidence came from an unexpected source, the building's teenage parking attendant, whom Miguel had befriended. The young man provided Rachel with cell phone videos capturing strange occurrences in the garage, Miguel changing clothes between vehicles, late-night meetings with Sofia in blind spots, stolen kisses between parked cars, and hushed conversations about schedule coordination. The totality of evidence was staggering: 847 text messages, 312 email exchanges, 156 hotel receipts, 89 gift receipts, 43 love letters, 267 photographs, 1,453 hours of security footage, 234 building access logs, 89 maintenance requests, and 312 credit card transactions. Each item told part of the story. Together, they painted a picture of a man who had turned infidelity into an art form, crafting a double life with the same precision he used to construct his buildings. Rachel compiled everything into encrypted files with multiple backups, knowing that once confronted, Miguel would try to destroy the evidence. The question wasn't whether to act, but how to use this devastating arsenal of information to dismantle the elaborate fiction he had constructed. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the Horizon Tower to its foundations. Rachel had built her case with the same attention to detail that Miguel had used to construct his deception. Now it was time to watch it all come crashing down. Rachel Martínez approached her husband's betrayal like her most complex real estate deal. Methodically, systematically, leaving no detail unchecked. Her elegant dining room transformed into a war room, multiple laptops casting their blue glow across walls now covered with intricate timelines, while notebooks filled with meticulous observations cluttered every surface. The investigation began with financial forensics, Rachel's real estate background guiding her to follow the money first. She spread Miguel's credit card statements across the polished table, developing a complex color-coding system that would reveal his deception. Red marked suspicious dates and locations, blue indicated known legitimate business expenses, yellow flagged unaccounted time periods, and green tracked family expenses. The pattern emerged like a neon sign of betrayal, illuminating every Tuesday and Thursday with charges at a coffee shop near Sofia's school. Monthly charges at La Perla Lingerie coincided perfectly with Sofia's building rent payments, while hotel charges, thinly disguised as business conferences, aligned with school holidays. Despite the physical revulsion it caused her, Rachel created detailed spreadsheets tracking Miguel's intimate patterns. The evidence was damning. Their marriage showed decreased intimacy during school terms, with strategic increases during holidays and breaks. His late-night gym sessions never showed evidence of actual exercise, and his business trips mysteriously coincided with Sofia's teaching schedule. The building's security footage became Rachel's nocturnal obsession. Using her position on the resident board, she gained access under the pretense of investigating car break-ins. What she discovered was a masterclass in choreographed deception. Night after night, the same pattern played out. Miguel entering the main lobby at 11:15 p.m., taking the service elevator to the 16th floor by 11:17 p.m., Sofia arriving through the garage entrance at 11:45 p.m. By 2:30 a.m., he would descend via emergency stairs, returning to their 15th floor apartment 5 minutes later. These patterns revealed themselves across months of time-stamped logs, highlighting how Miguel exploited the building's blind spots, areas he himself had designated during security system upgrades. Working with a forensic accountant, ostensibly for tax preparation, Rachel uncovered a complex web of financial deception. Shell companies funded Sofia's apartment while hidden accounts handled gifts and travel. Systematic cash withdrawals matched dates with Sofia, all concealed within elaborate business expense categorizations. Social media provided another devastating trail of evidence. Through a carefully crafted fake profile, Rachel accessed Sofia's semi-private accounts, discovering check-ins at restaurants during Miguel's supposed late meetings, photos of children's events where he posed as a family friend, and cryptic posts that now read like love letters in plain sight. The building staff unwittingly provided crucial testimony. Jose, the night security guard, mentioned Miguel's frequent checks of upper floors' fall maintenance issues. Maria from the cleaning staff noted how the gym always needed extra attention after his workouts, though she never saw him exercise. Tom, the valet, had observed Miguel changing clothes in his car before heading upstairs. Their casual observations built a damning portrait of routine deception. Rachel's home office walls became a massive timeline, documenting everything from the first meeting at the school renovation project through initial business meetings, apartment setup, pattern of encounters, financial transactions, gift purchases, and near discoveries. Each event was meticulously cross-referenced with emails, receipts, and security footage, while real estate software created digital visualizations mapping Miguel's movements throughout the building. The investigation expanded into cyber surveillance, with tracking software installed on their home network capturing late-night messages, hidden email accounts, secret photo storage, private calendar entries, and location data inconsistencies. Physical evidence mounted daily: hidden keys, duplicate toiletries, secret credit cards, burner phones, and changed clothes in his car. Each discovery felt like a fresh wound, but Rachel maintained her professional detachment, approaching each piece of evidence like a contract negotiation. Emotionless, analytical, focused on facts. A private investigator provided additional surveillance, documenting lunch meetings, school pickup encounters, gym rendezvous, restaurant dates, and park meetings with children. The financial investigation revealed staggering numbers: $4,000 monthly apartment subsidy, $2,500 average monthly gifts and entertainment, $1,800 monthly secret credit card charges, and $50,000 annual travel expenses, not counting countless small cash transactions. Building security records painted their own picture of deception: 157 late-night gym accesses, 89 service elevator uses, 234 stairwell entries, 312 irregular floor visits, and countless maintenance checks. The technology trail exposed multiple email accounts, secret messaging apps, hidden photo storage, location spoofing, and digital deception, while real estate connections revealed property ownership records, shell company structures, and hidden financial trails. The psychological impact manifested in trust deterioration, emotional manipulation, relationship damage, and personal trauma. Security footage revealed regular meeting patterns, coordinated movements, strategic timing, and planned encounters. Financial records exposed hidden accounts, secret transactions, complex money trails, and systematic fraud. Rachel's final report spanned 300 pages of evidence, included over 1,000 photographs, 500 financial records, 200 witness statements, and countless security logs. The investigation revealed a man who had turned infidelity into an art form, crafting a double life with architectural precision. Each discovery added another layer to the portrait of betrayal, building toward an inevitable confrontation. Sitting in her evidence-filled dining room, surrounded by the documented ruins of her marriage, Rachel faced the crucial question. It wasn't whether to confront Miguel anymore. It was how to dismantle his elaborate fiction without destroying everyone caught in his web of lies. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change lives forever. Rachel had built her case with the same attention to detail that Miguel had used to construct his deception. Now it was time to watch it all come crashing down. Rachel chose the building's private conference room for the final act of her marriage, a decision that would haunt the Horizon Tower for years to come. The glass-walled space on the ground floor had hosted countless business meetings, but none as explosive as what was about to unfold. She arranged for Sofia to arrive first, using the pretext of a parent-teacher conference, while Miguel was summoned by an urgent text about structural issues in the building. The moment Miguel stepped into the conference room crystallized in slow motion. His confident stride faltered as he registered both women seated at the table. Rachel's meticulously gathered evidence spread before them like a prosecutor's exhibit. The color drained from his face as he recognized items from both lives laid bare: duplicate keys, matching lingerie receipts, surveillance photos, detailed financial records. His carefully constructed world of parallel lives began crumbling before his eyes. "Sit down, Miguel," Rachel's voice cut through the silence with surgical precision. "I believe it's time we all had an honest conversation." Sofia's face cycled through emotions: confusion, realization, horror. The elementary school teacher's professional composure cracked as Rachel methodically presented their shared reality. Miguel remained frozen, his careful choreography of lies finally stumbling to a halt. Rachel began her presentation with cold efficiency, her real estate training evident in how she laid out the evidence. 3 years of elaborate deception unfolded through documents, photographs, and financial records. She revealed identical romantic gestures performed days apart, overlapping intimacies scheduled with precision, mirrored promises made to both women. Sofia's personal diary entries, read aloud by Rachel, echoed with cruel irony against the timeline of Miguel's married life. The building's residents, drawn by rising voices and the spectacle behind the glass walls, began gathering in the lobby. The scandal erupted through the building's social networks in real time. Security footage shared on phones, whispered conversations in elevators, shocked updates in WhatsApp groups. The Horizon Tower's carefully maintained veneer of privacy and discretion shattered along with Miguel's facades. Miguel's attempts to regain control grew increasingly desperate. His practiced charm crumbled as he tried to maintain two versions of reality that could no longer coexist. The mask slipped, revealing something darker beneath the polished surface that both women had fallen for. His explanations tangled as he tried to address both women simultaneously, each attempt at justification only deepening the hole he'd dug. Then something in Miguel snapped. The transformation was terrifying to witness. His carefully constructed persona shattered completely, revealing a rage born of thwarted control. The conference room's glass walls amplified his shouts, his threats, his desperate attempts to regain dominance over the situation. Rachel had anticipated violence, had arranged for security, but she hadn't expected the gun that Miguel pulled from his jacket. The first shot shattered the glass wall behind Rachel's head, missing her by inches. Sofia's scream pierced the building's marble lobby as security rushed toward the conference room. But Miguel was already moving, taking the service stairs he knew so well, disappearing into the building's maze of back corridors and blind spots he had mapped out over years of deception. Police response was immediate but futile. Miguel knew every escape route, every camera blind spot, every service entrance. They found his car abandoned in a parking garage 3 blocks away, containing a notebook that revealed the true depth of his preparation. He had maintained escape plans, false identities, offshore accounts, contingencies for the very scenario now unfolding. The aftermath devastated the Horizon Tower community. Sofia was hospitalized for shock, Rachel placed under police protection, and both families entered emergency counseling. The children, innocent victims of their father's deception, struggled to understand why their world had suddenly imploded. The building's residents, many of whom had witnessed the confrontation, dealt with their own trauma and shattered sense of security. The investigation expanded beyond Miguel's double life into his business dealings. Financial fraud surfaced, multiple identities were exposed, and connections to criminal enterprises emerged. The charming construction company owner had built his entire life on a foundation of lies, each deception supporting another in an intricate house of cards that was now collapsing. Media descended on the Horizon Tower like vultures. News vans clogged the streets, reporters ambushed residents, and true crime documentarians began piecing together the story. Social media exploded with theories, accusations, and armchair analysis. The private lives of everyone involved became public fodder, adding another layer of trauma to an already devastating situation. 3 weeks after the confrontation, Mexican authorities found Miguel's body in a luxury hotel room in Mexico City. The official ruling was suicide, but questions lingered. The note he left behind raised more questions than it answered, hinting at deeper conspiracies, other lives, darker secrets that would never come to light. The children bore the heaviest burden of Miguel's deception. Both families required extensive therapy, school changes, and complete life restructuring. The innocent belief in their father was replaced by confusion, anger, and a deep-seated sense of betrayal that would take years to process. Their futures were altered irrevocably by the choices of a man who had claimed to love them above all else. Legal consequences cascaded through both families' lives. Criminal investigations into Miguel's business dealings froze assets, civil lawsuits emerged from multiple directions, and custody battles complicated an already complex situation. The financial toll mounted as lawyers worked to untangle the web of deceit that had ensnared both families. The Horizon Tower itself underwent a transformation. Security protocols were overhauled, management changed, and community trust had to be rebuilt from the ground up. Property values plummeted as the building became infamous, known more for its tragedy than its luxury amenities. The residents who remained had to learn to live with the echoes of what had happened behind those glass walls. Unexpectedly, Rachel and Sofia found strength in their shared trauma. United by betrayal, They formed an alliance that helped both families navigate the aftermath. Joint therapy sessions, combined legal strategies, and mutual support created a bond forged in the fires of their shared devastation. Their cooperation became crucial in protecting their children and rebuilding their lives. 1 year after the confrontation, the physical evidence of the tragedy had been repaired. The conference room's glass was replaced, the bullet holes plastered over, the security systems upgraded. But the emotional scars remained, visible in the wary glances of residents, the hushed conversations that still occurred in elevators, the way people avoided the service stairs Miguel had used in his escape. The story became a cautionary tale in real estate and property management circles. Security consultants used it as a case study in residential building safety. Mental health professionals analyzed the impact on the community. Law enforcement agencies updated their protocols for handling domestic situations in luxury buildings. The tragedy's ripples spread far beyond the Horizon Tower's walls. 5 years later, Rachel had rebuilt her life in another city. Her real estate practice now specialized in helping women establish secure, private residences. Sofia had relocated with her children, finding strength in a fresh start and a community unburdened by knowledge of their past. The children, older now, were healing slowly, their therapy ongoing but promising. The Horizon Tower still stands, its glass walls reflecting sunlight and shadows, housing new stories, new lives, new beginnings. But in its corridors, stairwells, and elevators, echoes remain of the tragedy that unfolded within its walls. The building serves as a monument to the power of truth, the cost of deception, and the complex nature of love and betrayal. Those who know the full story understand that the tragedy wasn't just about infidelity or betrayal. It was about the dangerous architecture of lies that men like Miguel construct, the invisible walls they build between their various lives, and the devastating collapse that occurs when those walls finally come down. In the end, the Horizon Tower's greatest legacy wasn't the scandal or the tragedy, but the lessons learned about trust, truth, and the price of deception. The security camera footage from that final day still exists in police archives. Miguel's last moments in the building captured in sterile black and white. His exit through the service entrance, gun still in hand, face contorted with rage and fear, provides a chilling counterpoint to the charming man who had so carefully constructed 2 perfect lives within those walls. It serves as a reminder that sometimes the most dangerous lies are the ones closest to home, separated only by a single floor in a luxury high-rise called the Horizon Tower.